Welcome into Group Chat Football Live. I'm Peter Ariz alongside D Money. This is our daily show talking transfer news, recruiting news, and everything in between in the crazy world of college football. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as well. So, D, we've talked Penn State here recently. Huge news for them with both running backs returning, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, and then Drew Allar was the one that really started all of this a few weeks back when he announced his return, looking to build upon this season's success. And James Franklin has had sustained success up there. So everything's been good news until what we saw in the last 24 hours here in the wide receiver room, which it's been a pretty maligned receiver room. It was a group that did not have a reception until the last play of the game in that playoff game recently. So we've seen that they've kind of lacked some explosiveness out there, and bringing your quarterback back, you'd expect a guy like that in Drew Allar to attract talent to come, and they've picked up a couple in the portal here, but they're pretty much losing two of their top guys here, as they've announced in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, losing their top two returning receivers as far as from the wide receiver position with Harrison Wallace, with Omari Evans. So this is such an interesting team to me, right? Because you have both running backs come back, which is a bit of a shocker given the nature of the position, how good those guys played. So obviously they'll be featured. That won't change. Drew Allar was being talked about as a potential first-round pick if he went pro. Obviously didn't have the best performance there in the semifinal, but he's somebody who has a lot of talent, has a lot of expectations externally, NFL-type talent. So when your quarterback comes back like that, usually that means you're building around him. You're going to pass the ball over the yard. But you obviously struggled getting the ball to your wide receivers this season, and now you lose your top two guys in Harrison Wallace and Omari Evans. So what's the future of this going to look like? Is this, you hear Penn State fans, a lot of them are saying good riddance, right? We didn't have a very good receiver room last year. We had a lot of drops. Let's just start fresh. Also rumors that Penn State didn't have a lot of NIL allocated to their returning receiver core. So they kind of wanted that fresh start. But at the end of the day, you look at the numbers: 46 catches, 720 yards, 4 touchdowns for Harrison Wallace. Omari Evans, 21 catches, 415 yards, 5 touchdowns. Those are your two leading wide receivers coming back. You are losing a top 10 pick in Tyler Warren, who is your best receiver, the focal point of your offense, to the NFL. You have great running backs returning, but you had them last year and you still had these holes. So I'm not sure what the plan is to replace all that receiving production when you include Warren in the mix. You do add a Devontae Ross from Troy, smaller receiver dynamic, and a Kyron Hudson from USC made one of the catches of the year last year early in the season. But, I mean, these are not Eric Singleton, right? Noah Thomas, those blue chip, top of the market type wide receivers. Devontae Ross, 86 rating in the portal, which is a mid to low 3-star. Kyron Hudson, 87, pretty much a solid 3-star. Portal rankings are a work in progress. I'm not saying these are the Bible by any means, but you're not replacing your two top receivers with guys that are elite portal gets, right? So what is the next move? Because if you just lose Harrison Wallace and Omari Evans, replace them with Ross and Hudson, best case scenario, I think you stay kind of status quo, maybe a little better receiver, but what about all the production you lose at tight end or you lose its first-round pick? So I'm not sure how this goes. I think Penn State in that post-spring portal is going to be one of the most interesting teams, and maybe the timing of the playoff run hurt their portal recruitment. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, about kind of like the drawbacks of which every team wants to be playing at this time of year and the playoffs, deep into the playoffs here. But it makes the portal situation tough with the deadlines of the draft, and you're so focused on playing those games that you would love to be looking at your roster for next year, but you're putting the roster together to get to where you are right there, which is playing those games. So you have to focus and put as much effort into that and kind of rely on your recruiting staff as much as possible. But the coaching staff, you'd expect them to be locked in. So I agree with you on that point of it. And then you talked about the NIL aspect of it. And it's very interesting because you look at, they're bringing two guys in and you wonder if that sort of plays a part of it. Not to say anything about competition, but just guys say, look, this is what I feel like my market value is. And I see you're bringing these other guys in. I know you're paying them because these are guys who, whether or not they're the answer or not, we'll see, but they still commanded something on the market. They were wanted by other programs, right? So they had to pay these guys. Does that come back to bite you with these two? But I agree with you. I don't expect them to sit around and be complacent. You'd expect them to be really aggressive here in the spring market for receivers, which is, it's starting to ramp up a bit, D, with Carson Beck down there in Miami as well, because that's another program who you'd expect to be pretty attractive for receivers. So that market early on here for the next wave of transfers could be interesting.
Yeah, look, there's going to be competition for whoever the top receiver is coming in that spring portal. So, to bank everything there, to me, is not what the plan was. It couldn't have been, right? I don't think it could have been. So this situation bears watching. Look at the players lost. Harrison Wallace, big physical guy, 6'1", 200 pounds from Montgomery, Alabama. For a point there in the beginning of the season, he looked like he was going to be a true breakout star. Didn't quite happen that way. Had some bad drops, but still a productive player. I think he's going to have a lot of attention in the portal. He's flirted with the portal in the past. He is from, again, Montgomery, Alabama. He's not from Pennsylvania or from that area in the Northeast. So you maybe expect him to go south. There's some rumors that he might be going south to play football. That's a situation to monitor. And then with Omari Evans, there's a Texas guy, super athletic, long jumper, at times as fast as 4.3. 19 yards per catch, so we can get downfield in a hurry. Very much an explosive guy. I don't know if someone's going to take him to be the number one receiver, but maybe a team that wants to add that field stretcher gets a guy like Evans just to kind of put the cherry on top. But again, that's someone that Penn State needs to replace. There's not a lot of guys that had that kind of speed in the portal, even if he was not the most effective receiver that you've ever seen. So, you also lost, Tyler Johnson, Mekhi Flowers, not superstars, but guys that were in your receiving group. You bring in some from the high school ranks, but this position to me is one of the most interesting in the country, because I think you could say pretty accurately that this year it was a difference between Penn State going home and Penn State playing for a championship this week.
And you're not going to have your tight end there next year. So that's a huge chunk of production out the window, and you need to replace it somehow. And even if you did have Tyler Warren back, you need that dynamic piece on the outside, which they don't have right now. It doesn't seem like, but they have brought a couple guys in. Maybe they could be part of the solution. Still think they need more.
They need more. I'm looking at the high school ranks, right? You're not seeing top 100 players. You're definitely not seeing a Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams or Ryan Wingo type, Wesco, guys of that caliber that we've seen as true freshmen come in and compete day one from the last class, which was a loaded wide receiver class. Cam Coleman. You're not seeing guys with that sort of pedigree. Doesn't mean you can't have great players, but just the pedigree is not there. You got Kamaju from Maryland, 6'3", 230, or sorry, not Kamaju, I apologize. Matthew Oden from Virginia, 6 foot, 200, 4-star player. Kobe Howard, a guy that we've seen down here quite a bit playing in South Florida. I mean, he's a solid player. I don't see him as a day one impact guy. Lyric Samuel from Brooklyn. That'll be an adjustment coming to that level of competition, 3-star player. So again, you're not seeing the instant impact guys that on paper are going to solve this problem for you. So this is something you're going to have to see in the portal.
Yes. And again, this is a Penn State team that we expect to be still one of the best in the country, top 4 to 5 team. But we're talking about trying to go win a national championship. So you can't have a weakness like that.
Yeah, look, Ohio State's playing football, and look if they have a receiver. Notre Dame was able to get it done, but that margin for error is so tight. You saw it in that game. All it was one pick going one way versus the other way, and that ended up being the difference in the game. Ohio State has much more of a margin for error because of the explosive nature of their pass game. It's been consistent year in, year out, and that's allowed them to really dominate the Big Ten for the past, at this point, almost 20 years, but certainly in recent history with that great receiving group.
Remember to keep it locked here on Group Chat Football Live. We will have all the updates during spring football here for Penn State football and all the teams across the country. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and remember to check out our daily live show, Group Chat Football Live.